Welcome to High Output, the podcast exploring how today's engineering leaders are building tomorrow's high-performing teams. I'm your host, William Cheng, and each episode we sit down with visionary engineering leaders who are forging new paths in our rapidly evolving field. Join us as we gain a window into tomorrow's software organizations and discover what's new for both our profession and the entire software industry. This episode is brought to you by Maestro AI. Engineering leaders, let's be real. Building high-performing software teams has never been more challenging. You're juggling delivery timelines, team health, and the constant pressure to communicate value upward. That's where Maestro comes in. Maestro enables you to improve velocity, spot blockers, and make better decisions faster by seamlessly integrating with your existing tools like Slack, Jira, and GitHub. Maestro cuts through the noise, revealing exactly where your team is spending time and energy. Visit getmaestro.ai for more info, because you don't know everything, but Maestro does. Our guest today is Raquel Rodriguez, Head of Engineering at TYB. TYB is a next-generation community rewards program for brands and fans that is transforming traditional loyalty programs. It's where actions are rewarded and loyalty is measured. Urban Outfitters and Rare Beauty are some of the brands you'll find using TYB, but there are over 100 more. Welcome to the show, Raquel.
Hello.
Let's get into it. Tell me a bit about yourself and how you got into engineering leadership.
Well, I started maybe 5, 6 years ago, something like that. I was a data engineer, machine learning engineer at a startup, and I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was around like making sure that people were communicating correctly, that we were doing things that were business critical, and like I think a lot of the why we were doing things was something that was really important for me. And then in that journey, I guess, I started seeing that engineering management was a good way to be closer to the things that I cared about. And I really enjoy working with people and scaling, and not only um yeah, like scaling what I can do, but also through other people and influence and all of those things. So yeah, that's my start. And then I started managing more people, had I think around 12 engineers there. Now I'm managing, yeah, like similar
Nice.
size teams. So yeah,
Amazing,
it's
amazing.
been
How, it's interesting. You talked about business impact and all that sort of thing. So there's some engineers that get in and data analysts that are very much like, let me look at the data, let me look at the code, and that's all I care about. It's nice to hear that you had a bit of a different take there. Was that something that just came naturally to you, or was it do you remember some incident being like, oh man, this is really interesting?
I think it came sometimes from the frustration of not knowing why we were doing things. It's more like that brain of like engineering optimizations of like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And like how that just goes up and bubbles up to like, in the end, is it's a business question. Is this useful? So like all my iterations were like, this doesn't seem useful. Let's go upper and like see kind of like why things are being done, how can we work with product better, how, I don't know, I just, it was very natural to me to just ask these questions, and ended up in like making the decision, like,
Hmm.
yeah, this is what I want to be doing more so than just coding and being more like traditional engineer.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Getting that larger picture, it's so important because as you said, understanding why are you doing something is it's essential in a lot of cases. Well, when you first started, what struggles did you have? What was difficult? Were there any things that really got to you in the beginning?
I think it's still hard today in that sense. That is that I mean, I love engineering and I love coding and I love getting into the technical problems. So it's always hard to like fully let that go.
Hmm.
I, especially at the beginning, I didn't know well how to do that.
Hmm.
So just learning and kind of, yeah, that was kind of a struggle. Like that path from IC to to management, where some of the most fun challenges you just can't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. Are there, I mean, are there any specific cases you can think of? You're like, man, I wish I were working on that, or
Yeah, I mean, all the time. Like like I wish I had more time to just go and develop some of the I enjoy a lot like the analytics and machine learning part of things. So
hmm
like, oh, I just want to go really deep into how the feed in the product works, and I want to understand absolutely everything, and are we doing the right things there? And like, yeah, I mean,
you don't
I
have time.
sometimes have that thing. No, I have zero time. Like, and like, I'm not the best person to do that. Like, I have great engineers doing that kind of stuff. So like, we ideate, and I can, of course, like, I still we're pretty small still, so I still have to push to prod or like things like that in especially in those areas. But I don't I can't be blocking people basically just because I want to do some touch some piece of the product. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Honestly, I mean, we feel this as well, and I felt this at both the current role and previous roles. Sometimes you look at something and think like there has to be some better way, or I want to understand this to make sure it's
yeah,
okay. And it's very hard to let go, actually. You know, coming from IC, I was also an IC for, I don't know, 10 plus years, and it's super hard to be like, oh no, I can't, I don't have time to be looking at all the pull requests, but at the same time I kind of
exactly.
want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a struggle.
Especially if there's some tricky thing, you're like, oh man, I want to dig in, and then you're like, well, but
Hmm.
I'm also in meetings the whole day, so I don't have time to dig in.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, tell me about your day now. Like what does a typical day look like? Are you in meetings most of the time? Or are you having time for some more deep work of some sort? How does that split look like?
I try to think about my time in a weekly basis
Hmm.
because my days seem like they look very different. We go to the office on Tuesdays, so I
Oh.
expect that day to be I'm not gonna get much like real work
Mm-hmm.
done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, yeah, I mean, being in meetings and making sure that I talk to sales and I understand where we are and we have cross-functional, um, that happens in like one day,
Mm-hmm.
usually Mondays. And so it's like there's the things that I have to do from like having one-on-ones and touching base with the team, the stand-ups, making sure that I'm present, like all of those things probably take maybe 30% of my time
Hmm.
weekly. This part around cross-functional, all of that takes probably like 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And then 50% I do try to be more on like between strategic or things that have to be done where I'm like unblocking people or having deeper conversations with product or sales or customer success. Like, yeah, like more like hands-on work without it being too like engineering focused. I do still do some um like dashboarding and
Mm-hmm.
analytics and
Mm-hmm.
pushing things to prod like that, but my role is usually more on the what is the minimum we can do to figure out if something works, like
Mm-hmm.
experiments on the product side. I'm usually the one that is doing all of that, and then it's like, okay, yeah, this works, let's put it back to engineering. So
Interesting. How, that time blocking, that way of looking at the week versus the day seems pretty cool to me. Do you have strict, we talked to some people in the past where they do strict time blocks to say, Tuesdays this day, Wednesdays this day, Thursdays that day. Is that how you think about it? It sounds like Tuesdays for sure because you're in the office. But
mhm.
for the other days, do you do it that way or is it more flexible?
It is more flexible, but my mornings are usually very full of meetings. So I try to have all the meetings in the mornings because my team is remote. So I have to make sure that I have a time where everybody's like on the same, like very more like at the same time zone. And then I get like my afternoons are way more chilled. So that's
Hmm.
where I like ideate with product or like If I have to do something that needs to be like an experiment, or I need to check something, or that more like heads down work, that's when it happens. So it is, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's more, it's less so me being very intentional about it. It's more based on what is useful
Mm-hmm.
from others people time.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a pretty good way to interesting way to look at your own role because some people think like, oh man, I'm the head of engineering, like I need to define my own thing. But the way you're looking at it, if it playing back to you, it sounds like it's your job as a facilitator to make sure
Yeah,
everybody else
yeah.
gets their stuff
Hmm.
done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the way that I see my role. It's like, what are the things that people need that they are blocked? Do I have to go and get resources for my team? Are we very like constrained? Like, what are the things that are really like, what do people need that I can unblock? Is the way that I think about it, both from the engineering side, from the CS side, CS, consumer success,
Hmm.
sales, marketing, whatever it is, like, how can I make sure that I'm having those conversations and people are like, sometimes, yeah, just getting what they need, and is there a process that we need to
Yeah.
optimize? I also spend a lot of time thinking about that. It's a startup. Every few months, everything that was what was working for us 2 months
Hmm.
ago is not working anymore. So we have to like completely rethink about some of those things. And then there's like the repetitive work that I end up doing. How can we automate that? Right? Like there's a ton of small things
Yeah.
there. So
Well,
yeah.
what are your top problems or pain points now?
Right now, it's that we have grown a lot, the user base, and because we're a rewards platform, we have a lot of, well, not a lot, but like users start to behave in a way that at scale is not
Ah,
scalable.
okay.
So like what we're a community,
Mm-hmm.
so a community of 20,000 people behaves really nice, and it's like a really great place for people to find other people and get rewards, and they are like the true fans and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. We have communities that have grown to almost 200,000 people.
Wow.
Not so nice anymore.
Yeah.
So that scale of like where we are in the product and like what are the constraints that are happening, because some of these things we didn't think about,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I know that, oh yeah, of course, if we get hundreds of thousands of users in very short periods of time, I know that that's going to be a constraint on the engineering side,
Mm-hmm.
and we're prepared for that. Less so for the social aspects of, oh, all of these people misbehaving, and we had a chat feature, so like,
I
or
see.
suddenly the all of the economics around the rewards, we at some point like last year we were having trouble making people understand that we were giving rewards and
Mm-hmm.
they could get free stuff about that. Suddenly hundreds of thousands of people understood that, and then we have to do something about that because it's not right. Like then the brands come and it's like, we have this crazy amount of liability, like,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a lot of things that come up from these early stages of growth that we just didn't think about, and I spend a lot of time trying to think,
Yeah.
like, solve those problems, and then okay, then how do we push this into engineering? What things can be done today that can be more manual and it's okay, and what things we really need to, like, this problem is keeps coming, let's just put it in from the engineering side.
Yeah, this is super interesting. It's almost like there's obviously engineering by itself is already tough to manage, but there's also these intersection of product and
Yeah,
community and engineering together. How do you handle all these? That sounds very tricky.
it is. Yeah, it just takes a lot of, like, a lot of my time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What if you could have one thing, like one magic thing to help you with your current problems, like what would it be?
I mean, right now I'm thinking a lot about scaling the team. That's probably like top of mind
Mm-hmm.
for me right now. I think when I start seeing that I'm not so effective at that I have to be too much involved into certain things that I can just delegate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, the team needs like a refresh. So I'm thinking about how to do that right now, like hire a lot, um, and be effective in the way that who can I trust from the team? Should we hire someone? How to set expectations, all of those things that come from like growing the organization. Yeah, like the tools that I need for that are the tools that I'm looking at. And AI becomes very interesting because you can now ask a lot of these questions very quickly
Mm-hmm.
and like, right? Like it's nice to just like have the language, the right. It's kind of like what AI ends up being really good at is like what is the exact wording that everybody calls this problem that I have,
Mm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so like so then I can go and look for other people that have the same problem that I have and like right like and I can go and ask and hire in these areas and all of that. So that has been very interesting. But yeah, that's like I guess right now management of teams,
Yeah.
Maestro, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
Like
true.
it becomes very very useful.
Yeah. Well, so digging into that management of teams component, right? How do you decide? Do you hire more managers? Do you hire more ICs? And how many managers per, or how many ICs per manager? How are you thinking about that? Because we've talked to some folks, I mean, you've seen the news. Some folks literally say, we're not hiring anymore. We're using AI to write all our code or something, which I think is a little far off, but
Yeah.
what do I know?
No, no, I
But
I
yeah, how are
agree.
you thinking about that?
It's an open conversation. I think it's a lot comes from how efficient we have to be with resources at this point of our
Mm-hmm.
like of the company. I I can't afford to have people that are not building. So in my mind as is like what are the things that I have to have for the engineers to be as effective as they can?
Mm-hmm.
And when do I add those like management layers is the question that I have right now, right? Like I'm at a point where I think we have yeah like 14 engineers right now,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna hire 6 engineers, and so that's
Okay.
clearly something that I can't
That's
manage
too many.
as
Yeah.
an
That's too many.
engineering manager. But I'm not gonna go and hire 3 managers right now. I am like, okay, we need more like tech leads and restructuring the team, and let's see how that goes before we go and add a bunch of layers in between. I am not a fan of like a lot of management,
Mm-hmm.
and I am and the CEO is also not a fan. So like she really pushes us to be like, okay, like why would you right, like so
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's an open conversation and
Yeah.
would yeah, it's
It's
interesting.
it's tough. No, it's tough. It's tough. Well, I have my own opinions, but I'll hold them for a second. Why do you think both you and your CEO are not a fan of more layers or more management?
um I think that creates is this in my mind it just creates these like it's kind of wasteful in a way when we're thinking about resources. It's like all of these things like the vision gets misaligned, and then you have to spend a lot of time like bringing all of these people together, making sure that and then it's more meetings, more quarterly planning. Like we have a very lean organization where it's like really easy, like the early startup
Mm-hmm.
phase, that
Mm-hmm.
it's everybody gets that communication really easy
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's very much on the same page. um when you start adding layers, you kind of like start to lose that.
Yeah.
And I don't think we are at a place yet where we have the resources or we have the problems that like require that if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay. Okay. Well, do you see back to the AI angle? Some people are saying, well, we can have AI, we can hire, AI agents or something that write a lot of code. Do you think That's an approach that you're thinking about, or is that more in the, I guess, like fantasy future than now? How do you look at
I
that?
wanna hear how other people do it. I don't want to be the one experimenting with it. I trust a lot the engineers that we have, and I mean, I think software is just a part of the puzzle. Like humans are still the stars in the in the mix. Yes, like hopefully you're gonna have to hire less engineers because they can be way more effective. But without an engineer, right? Like I don't want to see you like go and fix a mess of an agent yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's my. I don't know if you have a different opinion.
No, I mean, I honestly, the way that, so, at this point, we've talked to a ton of folks, and there are some rare cases where people say, "Look, I'm actually replacing functions with straight up AI developers." But these are cases where it's generally you give it simple tasks, right? You have a UI
Hmm.
bug where some column is supposed to be draggable in a table and it's not draggable, and you give it to AI and they fix it, they make it draggable, or oh, something doesn't quite look according to the design, it's off by the size, it can go fix it for you. So those types of things I feel like we've heard have been
Hmm.
offloaded, but we haven't talked to a single engineering leader that's saying, well, I'm going to replace the core functionality. Here, they're thinking about it as how it can make our existing engineers more efficient,
Exactly.
maybe help them, test their stuff better, write better code, write more code. But at least right now, I haven't seen people going on I'm going to replace all my engineers. You do hear it in the news though. So I haven't
Yeah.
talked to those people. So who knows?
Yeah. 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 I'm always very curious, but I I don't see it yet for sure.
Okay. Well, what do you see happening next in the short term and long term? What's on the horizon, both for you, your company, as well as just the broader ecosystem? Do you have any predictions for the next couple of years?
No, definitely not. I'm sure. Mostly things that are wrong, probably, and if
That's
it's
the
like,
data
oh,
analyst side. You're like, I don't have enough data
right,
for that.
exactly. From the my company, I just it's like more like, well, what we're working for, right? Like it's like, oh, we're very excited about all the things that we're doing. We're kind of like at that nice spot where we have traction and people find the value at least a little bit on what we're doing. Yes, we have to improve a lot of things, but there's a ton of really exciting things that we can go and do. Um, so yeah, like we have to build so much in the next few years. And I'm really, yeah, honestly, like really curious. I'm sure that, yeah, like AI will make everybody way more effective. And there's like, you see a ton of like crazy things in the news and like a lot of, right, like just, I don't know. It's like a marketing blast of what's like all these very like many steps ahead of what I would expect it to happen in the next few years. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, it
probably
also,
gonna happen.
I do think, quite
Oh,
honestly.
you're
Oh, oh, okay. Can you hear me? Am I still
I can't
muted?
hear.
Oh, oh, maybe. I am muted. No, it was me. Sorry. Audio hiccup, audio hiccup. So I was saying, I think a lot of times the news, right? It's like companies want to say, hey, we're the most forward thinking, we're the most, we're all in on AI or something like that.
Hmm.
But whether that's effective or not, I really think it is too early to tell. In the ways that people expect, like mass replacement of some part of the workforce. I think we are, even if you listen to it, even the conversation on AI where people are saying, oh, we're going to hit AGI at the end of 2024, 2025, now going to, well, okay, we still need humans in the loop. And if people are in the loop,
Yes.
that means they're still doing their jobs. They're just doing it better, doing it faster. So, yeah, I also think
Yeah.
some of the hype is a little much, but I think there is real value that can be gained right now.
Yeah, of course, of course. I think it's a forcing function of organizations to be more effective, though. Like that like kind of way of thinking about, oh yeah, the way to prove that you're successful is by hiring a lot and having these crazy big organizations. Now seems that people are going the other way,
Hmm.
which I think it's great. Like you might not need 5,000 people where they're not fully they're just spending 2 hours of their day working like that.
Yeah.
I think that is something that might where AI might push people to be like, oh, don't need this. It's not a measurement of success anymore having a 10,000 engineering organization, 10,000 people in your organization. So um, being more careful with resources because there's other tools that can, even though it's just humans having more to do.
Yeah.
So 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 yeah, that is it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Any last thoughts about either the future or the role as it's changing?
yeah, I mean, I think it's like a very fun time to be an engineer right now, and a very fun time to be like it is really nice to be in an early stage. I mean, I'm obviously biased, right? But you can do so much now, it feels like, which is something that is definitely people are being more empowered to build a prototype really quickly or like a demo really quickly, and that is definitely it's definitely fun to see and do like right like when you are able to do all of these things really quickly is really fun. Yes, they're not going to be production ready, and you're right like you still need a bunch of humans there, but it is exciting. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's exciting times, exciting times. I mean, personally, I'm even using these doing vibe coding sometimes, even though I can code, right? Just sometimes you need to have a little script that does something or other, automate some
Hmm.
scenario, and AI does a good job. And already that
Yeah.
boosts productivity and everything. So I think the future is bright as well. And it sounds like from what you're saying, people aren't going to be out of job. Engineers aren't going to be out of jobs anytime soon, hopefully.
No, I still need a lot of engineers to hire.
There you go.
So yeah, if anybody's looking.
Yeah, so if you need a job, contact Raquel. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, wonderful, Raquel. Thanks for taking the time to chat. Really appreciated that. You had a lot of insightful things to say, and glad to hear about your journey and where you think the world's moving.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of High Output. If today's conversation was useful, please take a moment to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Engineering leadership is evolving rapidly, and we're committed to bringing you insights from the front lines every week. Visit getmaestro.ai/high-output for show notes, transcripts, and past episodes. Until next time, I'm William Chang, and this has been High Output, where we explore how today's engineering leaders are building tomorrow's high-performing teams.